Imagine getting dropped off in a place where no one speaks your language and you don't speak their language either. Imagine that it's also impossible for you to learn their language and no technologies can translate or assist you to this day. Imagine what that would be like for a month or even a week. Unfortunately, that's the day-to-day reality for deaf people. Even though you might not encounter them a lot, deaf people represent 5% of the world population, and the only suitable way for them to communicate is through sign language. But not all deaf people can get the chance of learning sign language, especially in the Arab world. Local survey in an Arabian country showed that only 5% of the deaf in the region actually communicate using Arabic Sign Language. The others communicate using basic signs, but they are not able to fully express themselves with a complete language. These numbers might come across as shocking. You might think to yourself, why do most deaf people in the Arab world are unable to communicate using their most suitable way of communication? The answer is inaccessible Arabic Sign Language education. It became clear that we need an easily accessible solution to learn sign language, especially the Arabic Sign Language. And because sign language depends on the muscle memory, it has to be trained by practice. So here comes Musheer, which in Arabic means a person who points. Musheer is an Arabic Sign Language Virtual Tutor. It's a web and a mobile application that can give sign language learners a chance to learn Arabic Sign Language anytime, anywhere, from the comfort of their own mobile phones or personal computers. Musheer gives the opportunity not only to deaf people and their families, but to everyone who's interested in making the world a better place for deaf people. As we truly believe in the power of gamification and how it would make learners more engaged and consistent regardless of their age, Musheer is designed to make users feel like they are playing a game while learning. It can give users a chance to learn Arabic Sign Language by watching a 3D avatar performing the sign and practicing the sign by trying to perform it in front of their camera, and getting immediate feedback on whether they performed the sign right or not. If it was right, then it's time to level up and learn a new sign. They can test their knowledge by taking challenges to assess their progress and also have an Arabic Sign Language dictionary in hand. All these functionalities are now working with high performance and accuracy.
We found that there are some available mobile applications on Google Play that aim to solve the same problem by teaching sign language in a way that differs from our way in some aspects. The first application is ACE ASL. This app teaches American Sign Language. The learning process is done by showing the user images and videos of the sign. The free version of the app consists only of 2 categories, letters and numbers, but not all of them are accessible, so the user has to pay to unlock the remaining letters and numbers in the premium plan. The second app is Isharti, which also teaches Arabic Sign Language through videos and images. The app teaches 3 categories. Each one costs 200 Saudi Riyal. In addition, the Unified Arabic Sign Language Dictionary, an Arabic Sign Language teaching application based on the same teaching method, videos and images. Each category in this app has a very limited number of words to teach in the free version. The rest of the words can be accessed in the paid version. And there are some other applications which crashed and were unusable after being practically tested. The learning method in all the applications we tried was through videos and images, unlike Musheer. Musheer has an animated 3D avatar performing the sign for the user that can be rotated, zoomed in and out, to let the user see the sign closely and from all angles. Besides the gamification elements that makes the learning process interactive and fun.
We faced lots of challenges while working with Musheer. First, we needed an AI model that could recognize dynamic sign language, that takes an input video and predicts the performed sign. But there wasn't any ready models to use, so we had to build it from scratch. The second challenge was finding a suitable dataset to build the AI. Unfortunately, there was only one publicly available Arabic Sign Language dynamic dataset, and it wasn't suitable due to the sample's lack of variations. So we decided to assemble our own dataset. With the help of our friends, we built Musheer Dataset, an Arabic Sign Language dynamic and static dataset. Musheer dataset consists of 60 dynamic signs of different categories, each has 60 sample videos, and 38 static signs forming the letters and numbers, each has over 1,000 samples. The dataset will soon be published for researchers, which can enable others to build more solutions that can help the deaf people. After acquiring a suitable dataset, we needed to build the AI model. We wanted it to be fast and accurate for our use case. So, after many experiments with different architectures and feature extraction methods, we built two deep learning neural network models, a static sign language recognition model and a dynamic sign language recognition model for signs that contains movements. After training the models on Musheer dataset, the models produced high accuracies of 89% for the dynamic model and 95% for the static model, and when tested in real time by real-life users, it was fast enough to use in an application. The next step was finding a suitable way for the user to watch and learn the sign before practicing on it. We decided a 3D animated avatar that the user can rotate and interact with to provide interactivity and add a gamification element is the best option. After an intensive search for a suitable 3D avatar, Eric was found to be suitable for our purposes. As it is a light 3D model with a size of only 1 megabyte that can be used for freehand editing and has a suitable appearance, it is also available for commercial use, which makes it possible for us to integrate it.
And now for the demo. Musheer currently has two applications, a web application and an Android application. Let's start with the web application of Musheer. Musheer follows a specific color palette in order to make the design consistent. This is the landing page of Musheer. Musheer requires no login or sign-up in order to make the learning process more straightforward. This is the Start button. After clicking this button, we can see here the different categories that Musheer provides. Musheer now supports 100 signs in 8 different categories, with the capability of growing to a lot more. This is the family category, which now has 10 signs. Below, we can find the different signs listed. This sign translates to father, and this sign translates to mother. Each sign comes with two options. The Learn option, where you can memorize the sign by seeing the 3D avatar performing it, and the Practice option, which takes camera input of you performing the sign, and then the AI model gives you immediate feedback. If we choose the Learn option, here we can see the 3D avatar performing the sign for mother. We can zoom in and out, and we can rotate the avatar in order to see the signs from all angles, with options of going to the next sign and the previous sign. Now if we go to the Practice section, the camera is now open, in order for the AI model to validate the sign. Here, Musheer tells us that we didn't learn the sign yet, and here it states that the sign is mother. And after performing the sign, Musheer now tells us that we learned the sign successfully. We can now go to the next sign, which is father, and after performing the sign, we learn the sign. Here's another example for the sign happy. The 3D avatar is performing the sign, and then we get to the Practice section in order to perform the sign. Let's try out some more signs. We're trying the sign loves. And now we're going to perform the sign, and the AI model will validate the sign. We did the sign successfully. And now the sign beautiful. And after performing the sign, we get that we performed the sign successfully. Let's head to the challenges section of Musheer, where users can test their Arabic Sign Language knowledge after learning. And now, for the mobile application of Musheer. The mobile application contains letters and numbers of the Arabic Sign Language. It doesn't contain dynamic signs, mainly because dynamic signs require the use of both hands, which might be difficult for the mobile user since one hand will be holding the mobile. This is the practice screen of Musheer. The user progress is saved locally. The mobile version works completely offline. This is the challenges section of Musheer, where a user can test their knowledge. This is the dictionary section of Musheer, where users can view different signs. Now let's learn together the starting letters of the Arabic Sign Language. Musheer asks for permission to use the camera. Musheer shows us the first letter, which is Alif, and when we scroll, we can now perform the sign. And after performing the sign, we can see a clapping hand, and we go to the next sign. We can switch between the sign and the camera easily. If we do any other sign, the model doesn't accept it. But when we do the required sign, we go to the next level. We can also skip the level or close the screen, which sends us back to the home screen. Here, we can see the dictionary and the different signs and scroll between them aimlessly. Musheer is going to be released to the Play Store very soon. Here is another version of the dictionary where we can see dynamic signs.
Now let's see what we use to build Musheer. As Musheer is a web and a mobile application, different technologies are involved. For the front-end development of the web application, we used React, Material UI, Three.js, and MediaPipe.js. And for the back-end development, we used Fast API, TensorFlow, SQLite, and TensorFlow Serve. For the mobile application, we used Kotlin, Java, ThemeForm, TensorFlow Lite, and MediaPipe. For the AI model building, we used TensorFlow, Python, and MediaPipe. To add animations to the 3D avatar, Blender was used. And for deploying Musheer, we used Docker and Kubernetes.
By realizing our social responsibility, it became definite that helping the marginalized is a crucial part of improving society as a whole. Through research, it was clear that, among the marginalized, the deaf community occupies a large percentage, which is unproportionate to the few services offered to them as stated previously. And this was the motivation behind Musheer. By making Arabic Sign Language available to nearly everyone with an internet connection, Musheer can assess the deaf community, which already has a sizable population. Beginning with the small circle of the deaf person's acquaintances, the deaf will no longer feel excluded and have no difficulty expressing their needs and feelings to their loved ones. Enabling parents of children with hearing or speech difficulties to understand and communicate with their child can help create a healthy environment. Colleagues of a deaf person can learn Arabic Sign Language and build communication in workplace. With more teachers able to learn and speak sign language, children with hearing impairment will have better and broader educational opportunities, which will make them equal to their hearing peers and enable them to have the most normal and healthy childhood possible. Arabic Sign Language will just be another common language in the Arab world.
So, what's next? We're planning on deploying and releasing the web and mobile applications and start a marketing campaign on social media and contacting the target customers and NGOs to reach the users across the Arab world. Also, we're planning to support more languages to help the deaf people across the whole world, which is a lot easier now since the Arabic version worked. We're also working on growing the dataset and retraining the models to teach more signs and improving the models' accuracies. And finally, working on releasing the 3D avatar as a separate component that can be integrated into websites to help deaf people understand websites' contents.